Kerry Harvey, Secretary of the Kentucky Justice and Public Safety Cabinet, served on a task force that held public meetings about medical marijuana. Those meetings informed the governor's executive action to let Kentuckians with one of 21 qualifying health conditions possess 8 ounces or less of cannabis with written certification from a doctor. Secretary Harvey said he was moved by the stories he heard.
I was given the opportunity to co-chair this task force with my friend, Secretary Ray Perry. We went out all over the state. We heard personally from hundreds of Kentuckians who told us their stories, and these are heart-wrenching stories. There are people who suffered from intractable pain. There are people who suffered from cancer. There are people who suffer from Lou Gehrig's disease, from seizure disorders, who have told us that they have been able to access medical cannabis in other states, and it relieves their suffering. It's allowed them to discontinue the use of addictive opioids. It's allowed them to lead more normal lives. I don't know of any reason why we would disbelieve those Kentuckians.
The Kentucky General Assembly funded the UK Cannabis Center that's researching medical marijuana during its last biennial budget. Legislators are hoping the center can help provide answers on whether medical marijuana is right for Kentucky. Last week, our Casey Parker Bell talked with the center's director, Dr. Shanna Babalonis, about the comparison between alcohol and cannabis.
You have a study that's getting ready to release in about a month. What's that study about, and what have you found so far?
Sure. So we have a driving simulator study that we're hoping to release data on soon. In that study, we brought participants into our laboratory, and we have a driving simulator there, and we compared the effects of alcohol in those people versus different strains of marijuana that you would see in recreational dispensaries and also medical dispensaries, to determine how it affected their mood, how high they were, how it affected their driving. And so what's a really important comparison for us that we're really looking at for that study is we know that alcohol impairs driving, but we're not really sure how cannabis affects driving. And so does it impair driving? And if so, does it impair it in the same way that alcohol does? Or is it just functionally different in what it does, or does it not impair driving? So alcohol is a really good control comparison for that.
Yeah. Dr. Babalonis, you've talked about some of the specific studies, but I was hoping to give people a big picture sense of what you all are trying to do, because you're trying to see how safe cannabis is, how it will work in the real world. Could you give people a sense of what you're hoping that the center can accomplish?
Absolutely. Our hope is to provide a series of studies that looks at the medical benefit and risks of medical cannabis for various health outcomes. So we talked about cancer, driving outcomes. We're also interested in lung disease and some different conditions as well. And so we hope to have a broad portfolio of studies to be able to present when the funding is out.
The center was funded through the General Assembly's budget for a 2-year period. Obviously, that seems like a long time, but we both know that 2 years really isn't.
Not for clinical research.
Yeah. So do you believe you can accomplish all that you hope to in a 2-year period?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Do you think that there will be more research to do after that 2-year period?
There's an endless amount of research to do. If you look at the list of conditions that people use medical cannabis for, and then compare it to the studies that are out and published in the medical literature, it's completely unbalanced. And so there's several lifetimes of research to do to answer those questions and address what we need to know.
And one of the big questions with cannabis is, of course, whether it should go through the FDA process. And you work with it, you probably have a better sense than most people do. And so is medical cannabis something that you think should go through that process?
It's always going to be beneficial to have well-controlled trials conducted to understand the harms involved and the benefits involved. So the FDA process cannot hurt. It is lengthy and it's a barrier, but for actual medicine, if you want to call something medicine and not just use it for recreational purposes, then the FDA is a very good process and a very appropriate process to go through.
We will follow the medical marijuana bill when and if it moves in Frankfort when the Kentucky General Assembly reconvenes next week.